Welcome back, Sunday Society. We are super excited to be here.
Woo!
If you cannot tell, for those who have voted, we are not inside the barn because there's a lot of bugs.
Yeah.
But we are outside the barn, and it is probably at this point like 8:30 p.m. It's very dark, and it is a full moon.
And a lunar eclipse, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're going to get started with our first episode of Spooky Season.
Exciting.
So grab your coffee, get spooky, and let's take back Sunday.
All right, Bianca.
Talk to me, girl.
When you were a kid, did you ever sit in the living room after dinner or at dinner, maybe, depending, and watch an old man walk down an alley that was dark and kind of foggy and wet with a tan trench coat on and talk to you in a mysterious voice?
My mother wouldn't let me watch TV, so no.
At all?
I could watch cartoons.
Oh. Well, as a kid, that was my first experience with being scared and watching Unsolved Mysteries.
Well,
90s edition.
I do know the stories that man haunted a generation of people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely know. I can see it in my head. The long trench coat, the two women walked to a bar. One made it home by 10 p.m. and the other was never seen again.
Yes.
And you're like, what happened to her?
Yeah.
You're like 8 years old. You're like, where'd she go? Then they also covered like UFOs and
the
aliens.
sci-fi stuff. Yeah, it was Unsolved Mysteries. So it wasn't just true crime. It was Unsolved Mysteries. It was things that we can't explain, we don't know about. It was very interesting. And I watched those with my parents.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and Raymond Burr was the host.
Yes.
He has since passed away. He actually passed away in 1997. But they came back out with Unsolved Mysteries recently on Netflix.
They did, and I have watched those because I'm old enough and I get to choose what I watch.
Jenny can't say nothing.
Can't tell me nothing. But so we thought it would be fun to kind of retell a story that we watched on Unsolved Mysteries. It's the newest season, season 4, episode 3, and it is titled
Severed Head.
So brace yourselves, babies, because it's kind of weird and it's gross. Yeah. And the beautiful thing about Unsolved Mysteries is that at the end, you don't know what happens because
the most frustrating
they're unsolved.
I just want to know. And that is with any kind of podcast or show I watch, I just need an answer. Yeah. So if you give me a fake movie, a real documentary, whatever it might be, a podcast, I just want to know. I want to know what the answer is.
Hannah needs closure, people.
And there are so many good ones that don't give me closure.
I know.
This is another one.
I know. And we will never have closure.
Yeah.
So without giving too much away, let's go ahead and dig into it.
Yeah.
So there's two big themes in this story, or kind of two stories that I think kind of are told in this case with like a third secret agenda in one of them. So we've got the story of this mysterious head that is found in the woods. This kid is doing what anyone who finds a dead body does.
Hunting.
Or
mushroom hunting. They always find dead bodies.
Yes. I will not hunt because I do not want to find a dead body. I don't know what I would do. I think I would freak out.
I don't like the outside that much.
Yeah, it's not that deep for me. I'll buy my cow. I'll buy my food at the store. Thank you. But so we have this 15-year-old kid walking through this field or the woods right off, like it didn't look like maybe half a mile off the highway, not even that, maybe a couple hundred yards off the highway.
You could see it from the road.
Yeah, so super close to the road. Sees this head, and this head is in pretty good condition.
So this happens in December.
Yes,
the
December.
Leaves have fallen in Pennsylvania. The head is found on top of the leaves, and the head is not decomposed.
Yes, and that was something weird, that there were no leaves on top of the head, but leaves had fallen around them.
Been put on the ground when it was
because
found.
No leaves had fallen on it.
By this 15-year-old boy who was passing by.
So the kid goes in, calls the cops immediately, is like, hello, I found a head. Someone come pick me up, please. I want to go home.
I would have been terrified.
Yeah, I don't know that I would have. Well, I probably would have called the cops, but like, you don't know. some
I would
people's
have
fight or
probably
flight.
drove to the police station.
Yeah, got away from
sticking
it.
around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, anyway.
So they call this kid into questioning. He's like, "This is the worst day of my freaking life.
Mm-hmm.
Can I go home? I need a hot bath and a therapist."
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how this story opens up, as we learn that there is this, like, it's embalmed. This head is embalmed. Its makeup is done. Its hair, I'm sure, was done at one point.
So yeah, they say that the hair is in good shape, like it had curled, it had been brushed, or it was curly hair, maybe not curled, but the hair was brushed. It had makeup on, and it was, I would say, professionally cut.
Yeah. So the first thought of, like, investigators is that maybe this is like a stunt head,
like a movie prop.
Yeah, for a prop. That's the word I'm looking
Yeah.
for. Which, that makes sense. When they said that out loud, I was like, oh, why didn't I think of that? Like, of course, that my
This
first
could
thought
be
wouldn't have been that.
so realistic that it's actually not real.
Exactly. Well, unfortunately, that is not the case.
Yeah.
It is actually somebody's head.
Yeah.
So it's well embalmed, which makes you think that they somehow made it to a morgue or a funeral home where they do embalming. And the makeup part for me was like, this likely
body
was a funeral.
Prepared for a funeral.
Yeah, for a viewing. So we find some things out later in this episode about embalming fluid. So I think that it's super important that they bring this up in the beginning, is that this head was embalmed. My first question is, how long does it take for your body to decompose after it's been embalmed? Because you see, like, mummies, but like, yeah, mummies that are embalmed, but you know, that embalming process is ancient, but they're still, like, the skin is kind of like, it's not gone.
Yeah.
You know, it's still there.
So, but this head wasn't decomposed.
Correct. It was in almost, like, they show it, guys. If you watch the episode, prepare yourself, because I was not prepared. And I was like, that is a head. And they blur the face, which I'm glad they do, but you can see enough to know what's going on.
Well, and I guess my biggest question is that if this head was randomly killed and murdered and cut off, we wouldn't have the precision cut.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have
highly
the makeup,
unlikely,
unless we're really dealing with
a very niche serial killer
like
who has
Criminal Minds serial killer.
And in that case, there would be more, right? Like, this wouldn't be the only instance in the country where that had happened.
Yeah.
Like, you would have a pattern of behavior there.
Yeah, but we have a well embalmed head. We have a head that looks as if it had been prepared for a viewing or a funeral, and a pristine cut.
Yeah.
Not a hack job.
Yep.
No pun
intended.
Which
it's a good pun, but
no
unintended.
Pun intended.
So when I was watching it, I'm like, what is more likely, that there is this crazy Dexter level, like, serial killer embalming people, doing their makeup? Like, is that a kink that this serial killer has, or that this was a stolen body part from a funeral home? And that seems more likely. Like Occam's razor, the simplest explanation is always
still
the
cut,
easiest.
though. The cut does not make sense to me.
No, and
the cut is where I'm like, how did
somebody with experience had to do this. And Hannah, I want you to tell us the craziest part. Not only is this head in the woods, not only is this head embalmed and found in the woods, please tell us the craziest part about this head.
I wrote in my notes, reason 500 million why I don't want to be buried. And it is because they find, like, rubber balls that you can get out of, like, a machine at a store that cost 25 cents.
My God.
Behind the eyeballs, or behind the eyelids.
Yes. So there's no eyeballs.
No eyeballs.
And what's in place are bouncy balls from the Mexican restaurant.
And they, like, they were like, easy. We're going to figure out where these came from.
Yep.
They're not from a funeral home. They're not from any kind of medical supply. And they literally are, like, from China.
Run-of-the-mill.
Mass-made, mass supply.
Mass-produced.
Yeah.
Bouncy balls from the quarter machine.
Crazy.
Pizza Hut had them. Our Mexican restaurant has, like, anywhere. You can get these from anywhere.
And, like, why are people putting those behind people's eye sockets? I don't understand.
Well, then we learned something new about kind of the burial process, and that funeral homes will sometimes put like, they're almost like contact things.
Like a plastic, almost like a sleeve, like a cap,
a shell.
a shell that you would put that looks like an eye contact. It's the shape of an eye, and you put it over the eyeball, so that that the eye holds its shape.
Yeah.
For a viewing or a funeral.
Yeah, because after the body starts to decay and you lose fluids, the eyes will like
sink.
Yeah, and so
it
just to keep the shape,
prevent that.
Yeah, for viewing purposes,
Mhm.
so family members aren't traumatized by that, because nightmares.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? No, I don't even want to think about it. It's dark. I'm already scared. So I want.
I love it.
So the first question, and I think I've already brought this up, is how long, or can you determine how long ago somebody has been embalmed? I don't know if you can.
We need to know a mortician.
Yes.
I have questions.
So
we need like a panel of people. We've talked about this before in prior episodes. Who did I say we needed? Somebody, we were talking about true crime the last time, and I was like, we need to know.
I don't remember who you said, but I remember this conversation.
It was like a doctor or a scientist, or somebody. And I was like, we need to have somebody that we can reach out to.
We need a prosecutor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was for the Ellen Greenberg case. I think it was like a coroner, maybe. To see, we were talking about procedures, like, because they were talking about doing like those quotes.
Tony.
Maybe it was.
I don't know, but
we've talked about it probably more than once.
We need like a panel of people.
So we need a prosecuting attorney. We need a defense attorney. We need a mortician. We need a funeral director. We need doctors,
coroner,
everybody, every profession. Because we left this episode with more questions than answers.
We're going to leave you with a lot of questions.
Because I want to know, how long does it take for the body to decompose after it's been embalmed?
Mm-hmm.
Can you determine how long ago a body has been embalmed? Because I feel like having a timeline of when this person died will help. We also learned that embalming fluid deteriorates DNA, so they were unable to identify this head.
They thought, we'll take some DNA.
She's got teeth.
Yeah.
There's hair, there's skin, there's so much to choose from.
They could not get a sample from this woman.
No. Nothing came back.
So they were like, oh, well, I guess we will do a sketch. So they look at the head and they make a sketch, because of course you don't want to put to the public a dead person's
because
head.
You can't, I don't think, because like even in the show, like they blurred the facial features.
It would be very tasteless, in my opinion, to do that.
Yeah.
So they make a sketch, no hits.
Nobody calls.
Then they do a sculpture of this woman without the eyes, which you notice they don't actually put eyeballs in.
Yeah, because they won't know.
There.
Yeah.
They don't know what color, but that gives you a very clear idea of what this lady most likely looked like. Still nobody.
Yeah. And this was a great sculpture. Like,
I was impressed. These people get paid to do this. Artists get paid to help people that have no names or unidentified victims of crimes, those kind of things. They help people find their identity. And I think that's awesome.
And something that they brought up when they did the sketch is the cigarette lines around their mouth. I was like, how cool and interesting is that?
Yes.
I never thought about that, because when you inhale a cigarette, your mouth makes a certain shape and you get lines and like creases around your lips. So they know that this person was a smoker.
Yeah, so they knew the lady smoked.
Which I think that's something I never knew.
Yeah.
And it's like this forensic artist knew this, So we have a head that can't be identified. And because I thought, like, even if this person...
I want to say one more thing on that sculpture and the sketch, is that they have a head that is in great shape. It's not like you're taking a skull and trying to...
Which people do that.
Yes, but you're not taking a skull and trying to decide what the face might have looked like. You know what the face looks like. You have it in front of you.
Yeah.
So it's accurate.
Yeah, I think it is a safe assumption that this is what this person looked like, what she looked like.
Yes.
And, we talked about, well, maybe they don't have family close, or maybe they're, they don't have a lot of family at all. And, before they brought up the DNA degradation with embalming fluid, I was like, oh, they could probably do like a reverse DNA match like they did
like
to find this
familial.
Golden Gate killer, or Golden State, Golden State
I know what
killer.
you meant.
Yeah, they have a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's a new thing. Can't even do that. Can't even do that.
Yeah, if you want to kill somebody, do not like let people, your family or you, do the 23andMe.
Truly,
'Cause they
we've
gonna
talked
find
about
you.
this. We've talked about
Yeah.
this. Like, if you submit your DNA, there's like an option to like allow law enforcement to use it, and it's like you could accidentally like snitch on your third cousin twice removed on your aunt's side or something.
They're gonna find
They're
him.
gonna find you. So yeah, great point. Don't if you don't, if your family plans on committing murder.
So I think it would be a safe bet to kind of, since we're talking about the head, we're talking about the identification. They do get calls, none of that stuff leads. They get leads, none of that works out. And then they get a call from a county, a couple counties over, of an officer that's like, hey, you have a head. We have a body without a head.
We have a body.
It's probably the same person.
Yeah, like what are the odds that they
honestly,
don't connect?
In the same state, within a, however many
like
miles,
30-mile radius, maybe.
Yeah,
not a lot.
You're like,
not a lot of
yep,
space.
this is the head. The only thing is that when they showed, I mean, I'm not saying they don't look alike at all, but when they showed the picture of the sculpture, and then they showed the picture of the lady that's head was stolen from a crypt, which her name is Teresa DiCarlo. They didn't, like, the nose really didn't look like, I feel like
one of them was a lot wider.
Yeah, Teresa DiCarlo had like a wider
very
nose,
distinctive. Yeah.
So they were similar in age, because this head, when they determined that it was between 60 and 80 years old.
Yes, the unidentified Jane Doe.
Yes, and so the age matched up with Teresa, and so you're like, okay. But it wasn't Teresa.
No.
And the cops from Teresa's case were like, we think that it was a satanic group that's active. I don't buy that. I think it was probably some kids that were ornery and, dared somebody to take a head, which I think is really creepy. But
yeah, that is strange. Like, who dares each other to do that? It is weird. I also know, so our head was found in 2014, and this head went missing. Teresa's head went missing in 1988. So and
Teresa died in the 50s.
Yeah. So this
exactly,
she had been buried.
She died in 1952.
So like 36 years had gone by that this person was in a crypt. Was she decaying? This is another question.
And then there's another question: was what happens in a crypt? What's the difference between burying in the ground and burying above ground? I have so many questions, but they end up doing something very smart, which is looking at her teeth.
Forensic dentistry
Trigger
is a
warning:
thing.
they're going to show you a picture of the dead person.
Oh yeah.
Her teeth in real life, with her mouth kind of crooked open. Anyways,
it is a little.
When I saw it, I was like,
the first time.
Oh.
Yeah.
So anyway, they look at her teeth and they realize that
our
dental,
Jane.
Yes, it's
hard,
confusing. Our Jane Doe's teeth had dental work that would have happened in the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
Miss Teresa passed away in the 50s.
Yeah.
Cannot be her.
Yep. Which was kind of a bummer, because it's like you could have brought closure to two cases.
Yeah.
One family had, it was sad, but ultimately that was kind of where my questioning came in. Like, how long can your body stay intact after it's been embalmed? Like, would this head have survived from 1988 to 2014?
Yeah, I don't know.
Unless somebody took it and put it in a freezer.
Yep. No idea.
But ultimately it wasn't her.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of where this story of Jane Doe, like who she is, stops. We can't get DNA. So we can't do victimology, which is crucial in an investigation, because when you can figure out the who, you can typically backtrack and figure out the why.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
or at least a pattern.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so say we don't know why necessarily, but we know that there are 10 other women that have been killed this exact same way.
Exactly.
Yes. And
exactly.
this does not work for that.
Yep. So that is where
there's not other heads being found that are embalmed and have their makeup and their hair done either.
Exactly.
In woods.
So
and
it's
if
not a
they
pattern.
are, people aren't finding them.
Yeah. And so the question is, where did this head come from? And we're going to take a pause on that story, and we're going to circle back to the beginning to talk about the characters in this story now that are not our Jane Doe. So the boy that found this head, we don't get his name because he's 15, he's a minor.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have a very eager neighbor that would like to share his opinions and theories on this case. And his name?
J.
Grabner.
Oh, I said Green. J. Grabner.
And old Jay has got some stories to share. He has got some opinions. And
old Jay is a little off his rocker.
Little Jay, little cray-cray. Little cray-cray Jay.
Little cray-cray Jay.
So we learn more about this guy. He lives across the highway from where the head was found. He immediately is like, these are some things that it could be. You know, they have these conventions.
Like 3 scenarios.
Yeah, he comes and he's like, these are the 3 sections of this case that you got to look at. And I'm like, brother, if I'm finding out that I live across the highway from where a head is found, the only acceptable response is, oh my God, what?
And I'm gonna stay in my house and lock the door and stay away from creepy people.
Yes.
Yeah.
My first reaction is not to say, well, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this.
But we do have to think about his age.
He's what, probably in his 60s?
Late, I would say late 60s.
Mid, at least mid, yeah.
I think he's a nosy neighbor.
Yep. I think
he is mentally unstable.
I think he's paranoid for sure.
Yeah.
Like, he thinks the government put, like, biochips in vaccines and he's been chipped. But he also says in the, like, first interrogation, like, you should really look into that kid that found the head. And they're like,
because he inserted, they don't interrogate him for no reason. He inserts himself into this way too much, and they're finally like,
crime junkies,
let's go have a conversation.
Yeah, so typically, at least for me, I was like, this guy is really putting himself out there in this investigation. That's a little sus. He's not
staying in his lane.
Right, like, why would he be doing this? Mm-hmm. And all of my experience watching shows and listening to true crime podcasts and watching true crime shows, when somebody is trying to put themselves in the investigation like that, there's a very specific class of criminal who will do that to kind of keep tabs on what the police know. Mm-hmm. So they insert themselves because they want to make sure that they stay a couple steps ahead.
Yeah.
Or in this case, maybe throw the scent onto someone else.
Yeah.
So he's definitely like, you need to check out this kid, blah, blah, blah. It's really weird that he found this head. Well, the more that police investigate this, the clearer this picture becomes that Jay and this kid they say they call each other friends, which it gets more explained that they are like
mentors. He mentors this 15-year-old.
Yeah, they're not like besties, like getting, milkshakes and gossiping over, Gilmore Girls. They're like,
when he first said friend, I was like,
that's a little weird because there's definitely like a 50-year age gap between these two people.
I was like, ew, I don't like it.
But then we find out that they have a falling out, and Jay doesn't
explain what the falling out is.
We don't know.
The falling out, and Jay says, I told him he's never allowed on my property and never allowed in my house again.
And
it sets a scene.
It definitely, the plot thickens, as one would say.
Like, that's interesting.
Like, why? Yeah, this is strange, because I think I wrote down, like, there's something weird between these two. Like, there's a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
So then, shortly after this, quote, falling out happens, we find out that there was a horse that lived across the street. I act like this horse has a house across the road that they, like, visits.
And Jay took a liking to the horse.
Yeah.
And pretty much considered it his own, which kind of shows you his personality, I feel.
Yeah, he's like, I love this horse.
It's like me seeing, like, a car across the street, and I'm like, I love that car so much. That's my car.
Oh my goodness.
It's did
this horse belong to people?
Yes.
So it belonged to the neighbor, like people that lived across the road. I missed that part.
He's still considered his horse, and I'm like, dude, did you even pay for it?
Yeah.
Did you feed it? Like, what? It's weird to me.
Yeah. Well, content warning. Poor Ginger, is the name of the horse, is found severely injured. Like, unfortunately fatally injured.
Yes.
They say stabbed. So they say that this horse is stabbed.
Yeah.
Jay is convinced that this 15-year-old kid stabbed his horse.
Out of spite.
Out of spite for the falling out.
Killed the horse. Killed Ginger.
Killed Ginger. And then people have said, witnesses have said that they have heard Jay mention that he was going to get revenge.
Yeah. So in the documentary that you see, or Unsolved Mysteries, the episode, you see him talking about Ginger, and you see that he has like a
memorial.
Yeah, like a
memorial.
Grave. He's crying.
It's so sad.
He really loved this horse.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm an animal lover. I could see how that would be impactful if you felt like somebody was trying to hurt you and get back at you and killed an animal.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he people heard him talking about revenge. Just so happens at one point that the cops are talking to him, and he has a telescope in his house. They look in the telescope, and it's pointed directly at where the head was found, which happens to be where Ginger was found injured.
The puzzle pieces are really starting to fit together. The math is starting to math.
And it's like, okay, so did you put this head here, sir? Because it looks like you're trying to turn around and pin something on this 15-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm. And so now is where our two concentric stories collide.
Yeah.
In the worst way. Because, Hannah, what does Jay bring to light that even the investigators were like, I didn't even know that these things existed.
Yeah.
And this is where...
This is a small town, so, maybe they wouldn't know. But, so he says, I have a theory.
He has a theory. He has a section.
You could find a head by going to these medical conventions at hotels where people bring body parts.
Doctors, allegedly.
Doctors,
like, this is all, legal and ethical. And
they bring these body parts. They do procedures to show maybe, equipment, and they're trying to sell equipment. And then, if they don't use them all, they just throw the extra body parts in a dumpster.
In the dumpster. And he's like,
and
yeah,
I was thinking,
found...
what 15-year-old kid be like, oh, there's a head.
This is mine now. And then, well, they also bring up a good point, though. Why would this kid go through the trouble of finding the head, taking it out there, placing it, calling the cops
and being
on himself?
I found a head.
And
that's
sticking
weird.
around for the cops to show up.
Because he honestly could be, where they could have pointed their blame.
Yeah, I really think that this kid was wrong place, wrong time.
Were you walking through these woods? But Jay knew this kid walked
that
through
path.
These woods.
Yep, and he had that telescope pointed right at that area.
Mm-hmm.
I don't wonder if this kid had some mental health conditions also. If maybe he was a little delayed.
I don't know.
I don't know. They never tell us.
He didn't sound... If he was delayed, he was minimally, because he didn't. We hear him.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't mean
I don't know. I was just.
Yeah,
walking
that is true.
Through the
We
woods.
do hear him talk. I forgot that we do see the interrogation.
I'm just walking through the woods, and there's the head. I call you guys. Can I go home now?
Truly, I need.
I want to go home.
Yeah, hot bath, therapist. Never want to talk about
Probably
this again
some
in my
bad
life.
dreams. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine?
No.
So Jay is like, yeah, I've seen body parts in dumpsters. And they're like...
Or that he doesn't say he's seen them. He just says that
he knows that they do it. And they're like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah,
hold the phone.
They don't know about this. I didn't know about it.
I didn't know. This is a thing, though.
But
we Googled it. It does. It is real.
Immediately made me go,
huh.
Wait a second. Where are they getting these bodies? Where are these bodies coming from?
And then this, buckle up, guys. Because now we're to the point.
Big door.
Yeah,
of questions.
We have so many questions. What's the biggest question that you have about this?
So for me, it is if these are from some kind of medical seminars.
Yeah.
Where are all these body parts coming from? Because these body parts they found out are being sold. Like a head is worth $500.
So okay. This tangents off into the black market, which is a terrifying thing.
Yes. So where are these bodies coming from? Because I know that I'm an organ donor.
Yeah. And we know that those organs go to another person who needs them.
If you die at the right time, then they can use them.
if they're usable.
Yes.
But then that I don't think
is
the same, right?
I hope not.
Because I don't want to donate my arm to someone who just wants to test out new needles for like injections and stuff.
And you said that maybe you can sign up to donate your body for science, but I just don't think there's that many people that are doing that then we have extra body parts that we paid hundreds of dollars for that we're throwing in the dumpster.
Yeah, no, I don't know. So I think that I think that part of the episode there's the conventions that are legal, mandated, blah, blah, blah. Then there is the black market where people are selling these body parts for like $1,100 for a torso.
We're not saying they're the same, but I think at some point they might intertwine.
Yeah.
So my biggest question is that are these body parts that are at these conventions, are we getting them embalmed? Are they prior?
Ooh, that is a good question.
Are it makeup being done for viewing, all of those things? Because in my mind, that is telling me that someone thought that their family member was being buried or cremated, and then their body was being severed and sold.
Split up. And yeah, I think I wrote down, because we took notes while we were watching this episode. I think one of my notes is like, funeral directors are out here hacking people up and selling bodies for parts. Like it's just scrap metal.
I think there's some kind of black market that we're not aware of. And
yeah.
There's something there, because again, I hit the mic, sorry.
I did too.
It was
at the same time.
It was a surgical cut. Somebody knew what they were doing.
Yes, it wasn't, like you said, like it wasn't,
and like the rubber balls and behind the eyes, like that.
Only a professional would think to do that. I would not know to do that if I am, God for, I would never do that. But
and maybe this lady did donate certain things.
Sure.
And she didn't have eyeballs, so they had to find something to put in her eye sockets.
Maybe, because people can donate their eyes, which is very strange, but that does happen. Either way.
We have now opened this world of questions of where are these body parts coming from, and is it really legit?
Exactly.
And if it is legit, why was this lady embalmed, had makeup on, had her hair done like she was going to be put in a casket and buried, or the family had viewed her and then she was going to be taken to be cremated?
Well, so fun fact, we have already recorded this and messed it up, but you brought up an excellent point. What donation is requiring you to surgically remove a head like that? There's no donation. We're not
doing checking that box.
No, leave my head on my body. But we're not like, you know what I mean? Like we're not like doing head transplants out here like Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
So I can't think of a logical reason that this woman's head was severed professionally from her body post embalming.
Yeah.
So
Dexter is not out here cutting up ladies and then embalming them.
And Dexter only killed the bad guy. So unless this lady did something horrible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So we've got now where Jay has opened Pandora's box into this crazy theory that this is where that kid could have gotten that head.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where my theory comes into play. My theory is that Jay, as an act of revenge against this kid for killing his horse, murdering...
Knew about these medical conventions.
Who knew about these conventions. The only person in Beaver County, Pennsylvania that knew about them went to one of these conventions, stalked it, went to the dumpster, grabbed the head.
Or took a head, maybe that wasn't in the dumpster.
Maybe he went inside and he's like, oh, this one looks nice. Let me put it in my freaking messenger bag. Goes to the woods where he knows this kid's going to walk, puts the head there, runs back home, watches in the telescope, just to get revenge on this kid for what he is perceiving as a slight. Like a murder. A murder
of Ginger.
Poor Ginger. Truly, though, the two innocent victims, Ginger and this Jane Doe.
Yeah.
I guess Jane Doe first and then Ginger. Yeah. But so that's my theory. Regardless of who did it, we need to know what happened. Like, how did this person's head disappear from its body?
I don't think Jay actually really had anything to do with that lady's head.
No, I think
I think there's a bigger picture behind this lady's head.
There's two big issues here.
Yeah,
it's
but Jay placement. Definitely got a hold of this lady's head, and we believe he placed it in the woods.
And I think
he knew that boy was going to be walking by. matter of time. Because again, the leaves were falling. There,
Mhm.
it wasn't covered. So it was, I mean, he could have seen that kid park, because it doesn't say like the kid got out right where the head was.
Right.
He was walking. He could have known that kid was walking through the woods and was like, dang, I know which way he's going to take.
Yep, exactly.
And then he went to his house and he sat there and watched it through the telescope.
And I think investigators picked up on that too, because they continued to come back to question him. And I think they said something about a lie detector test. And he's like, take the test. Take the test.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll take it right now.
Well,
guess
so
what?
theatrical with when he talked.
Very
mentally unstable.
showboaty. Yeah,
Yeah.
like very histrionic personality disorder type thing.
Yeah.
So life rule number 1, never do
Crime Junkies has taught us you don't do a polygraph because it is not, well, number 1, it's not admissible in court, but it definitely can help
it
investigators
can hurt your case. Yeah.
to be like,
Always get a lawyer.
Yeah.
Never take a lie detector
because
test.
it is not 100%. But for investigators, it can help them with a person of interest to know, are we looking at a suspect? Are we clearing this person? Because
exactly.
You know, and Jay,
poor Jay.
They asked him 3 different questions. They all had to do with, did you place that head there? Did you have anything to do with the head being there? Did you hire somebody to put the head there? Yeah. Did you know the head was there?
Basically, no way for him to skirt his way out on a technicality, you know, because it's like, did you kill this person? And you're like, I didn't, because he didn't kill her, probably, you know.
Yeah,
so no way to get around it.
Murdering the lady where the head was. It was about placing the head in the woods.
Yep.
Hiring somebody to do it, knowing that it was there.
Yep.
He said no to all of those questions, and every single one of them showed up that 99% chance he was lying.
Yikes, Jay. Yikes on bikes.
Jay, his mentally unstableness also made him, I think he was smarter than the police.
Yeah.
I think he thought he could manipulate the police by his theories.
His sections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got 3 sections to this case.
When he said that,
theatrical.
I was like, what the hell?
They have him there for the polygraph. He fails, and they really start hammering him after that.
Yeah.
They want to ask him. He doesn't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I didn't do this.
I didn't do this. Yeah, he's so theatrical with
Doubles down. JJ a little cray-cray.
Yeah, he is. At one point, the investigator at some point talks to him at his house. And
oh, bless. Bless up, Anna.
So,
oh, man.
It's so weird. Okay, so he's like talking about how much he cares for things and he loves, and he's talking about his dog, Jackie. Jackie died, and he tells that investigator that he has her double bagged in the freezer right now.
Double bagged. That was it for me.
Then I think we're thinking, who is this woman? How do we find out? The investigators are immediately like, wait a second. When did Jay's mama die?
Whoa.
When did Jay's mom? Is this Jay's mama? Did he take her head after she died, put it in a freezer, and then like,
oh my gosh. And then place her like perfect, you know, the perfect crime. Because he probably didn't think that they'd be able to trace it back to him somehow.
Not Jay's mom's head. Still thinking Jay had the head and placed it in the woods, but not her. But this just shows you how unstable he was. Like, he's taking I had a shirt with a picture of my dog
Rocky
on it. Like a photograph that you could like make into a shirt and like press it on. I had one of those when I was younger. I loved our Rottweiler. He was a pound dog, and he was perfect, and he loved everybody unless he thought you were going to hurt a kid. And then he was like, he didn't ever bite anybody, but he was definitely
was ready to.
He was protective. But anyway, like, my mom had him cremated because she just could not put him in the ground. I think that's fine.
The same thing, with Roscoe. Like, I had him cremated.
Yes,
and
I love animals.
The moment
they are your family. But I am not going to bag my dog
not a
in
double
the freezer
bag
like a dang turkey.
Oh, no, not a butterball.
It is weird. I'm sorry if any of our listeners have ever double bagged their animals.
Oh
in the
my
freezer.
gosh.
It is disgusting.
I think it's traumatizing.
It is not normal.
It's not healthy. Like, that's not healthy for your soul. And I think that, I mean, it goes without saying that Jay does have mental health issues, and we're not trying to make fun, like, light of them at all.
No.
But
The
there are some serious things going on with this
odd
man.
behavior of him. And if you watch this, and I really do highly encourage everybody to get on Netflix and to watch the Unsolved Mysteries. Like I said, season 4.
See if you can
episode 3.
Answer our questions.
We would love to hear what you have to think about it, but you will see how ill this man is mentally, and it is very sad.
And it's very obvious from, like, the jump. Like, there's no, like, question that this man is
and
not
like
well.
So I feel like I can, like, honestly say that I feel like we know how that head
got in the woods.
Got into the woods. I know why. I feel like I know why that head was in the woods.
The biggest question:
who does that head belong to?
Mm-hmm.
And where did it come from?
How did Jay? Because we assume, in theory, our theory, Jay put the head there. How did Jay get this head?
Yeah.
How did the head come to?
I still believe that it could have come from one of those medical conventions.
But then the question is, how did she get there?
But then again, are we stealing body parts from embalmed bodies from funeral homes? Because that's my
funeral directors, like, selling these, like, after the viewings, before the burials, like
oh, we're gonna, we're gonna travel to the funeral site, but right before we do that, we're gonna hack them up.
Ugh.
Because the casket's closed.
Well, I was gonna say, think about, like, any closed casket service. There's no guarantee that that's who's in there.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's too much. It's too much.
Heebie-jeebies. It makes me question funeral directors. Not all of them.
No offense to all our, any funeral director listeners.
But, like, I'm like, are there shady people out there doing that for?
Because there are. There's always shady people.
$500 a head.
Oh, no pun intended, but for real.
No, but
that's literally what it is. That's so crazy.
$200 an arm. Well, it got 2. That's $400.
Yeah.
That's almost $1,000.
There's rent.
Yeah, so that's the biggest question is, like, where are these bodies coming? Where did that head come from? Who is she? We never find out.
We don't. And unfortunately, we never find out how Jay gets the head, because 6 years after it is found in the woods,
September 30th, 2020,
Jay commits suicide. And jumps off an overpass in front of a truck, and they detail that out for us. Like, they tell us how it happens. He
drives onto the turnpike. He stops his car. He then waits for a truck and jumps in front of a truck.
So aggressive. Like, it's so that I think that speaks to how ill he was, and
and who knows why he did it. We'll never know if it was guilt, if it was the mental health and guilt, if it was just mental health, if it was, the pandemic at that time.
It's the possibilities are endless. We'll never know, and people who do that, we never truly know anyway. Like, we could have theories, just like this case. We have theories, but we don't have any, like, proof that can solidify it.
All we know is that from the very beginning, Jay inserted himself where he may never, if he hadn't done that, I don't think they would have ever looked at him.
No, I don't think that they would have either. I honestly do not
think the police would have ever even looked at him. So he inserts himself. Then they become aware of the conflict between these two, the 15-year-old boy, and Jay. And then the odd behavior just continues.
Yeah. The erratic. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that 15-year-old boy just did happen to come across that head. But I have so many questions.
So many questions.
About where these bodies are coming from. Because I'm sorry, I don't think there's enough people that are signing up to donate their arms and their heads and their legs and their feet and whatever else.
Yeah, for these, like, medical conventions
to sell medical equipment.
Yeah.
It's not even really for science.
No.
I mean, I guess it kind of could be.
Maybe. It just depends on how you split it. But I don't know. I feel like
it's, this case.
This is why we covered this one, because there's so much that we don't know. So, it's not just, like other ones where it's like, oh, this person died. We don't know how it happened. Yeah. We have, this person died. Their head is not on their body. Their head was found in the woods. Yeah. What happened? Now we've got all these medical conventions. Where are all these body parts coming from?
the more you know, the more questions you have.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I feel like we need to have like a mortician or a funeral director, somebody that we could ask some questions, because I really do have a lot of questions about the embalming process.
Yeah.
And
me too.
And the crypt versus burying.
Yeah.
And decomposing time and all of these things.
Ugh.
I remember it was Tony Anderson. It just hit me. It was how long alcohol and things like that can stay in your system. It was something about system, like once your body's decomposing in the water, how long things can stay in your system.
I remember.
That's why we needed a coroner.
Yes. We need a lot of,
examiner.
we need an expert panel. Nancy Grace, please let us borrow your panel of experts because we need them.
Yes. So Bianca,
yeah,
I have a little surprise.
Oh.
Put your hand in your pocket.
Oh.
Your little cup holder.
What is this?
Because it's season and we're outside.
I love it so much.
Yes. So this has been a lot of fun.
It has been.
I'm so glad to be recording again. I love our breaks. They are needed.
Yes, for mental health purposes
and busy schedules.
But yeah.
It feels like it's been an eternity since we've done this.
It really does.
And I'm so excited to be back with you guys.
Yay!
What do we have coming?
So it is spooky season.
So
we definitely have this unsolved episode, and then I'm looking forward to your episode that is next week.
I'm excited.
And I want you to give like a tease. Like I want you to kind of give hints as to what it's going to be about without telling us what it's going to be about.
Okay.
Because it's going to be fun. Okay.
So I have to just say, you're giving me Are You Afraid of the Dark vibes right now.
Yes, the Midnight Society.
Yes.
So we definitely, when we read our scary like listener tales, we need to read them with the mic or with the flashlight.
Yes. So let me think of some clues that I can give you about next week. We have 2 killers that we're talking about in our true crime episode. And if you think urban legend, like, for example, Beetlejuice, you say Beetlejuice 3 times and Beetlejuice comes back alive. Or
say it one more time, I dare you. You done said it twice. Beetlejuice.
Do you remember like ever going into like a bathroom and shutting off the lights and saying Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary?
You see how dark it is? Why you gotta do this in the nighttime?
To see if like Bloody Mary would appear.
Yeah.
And like obviously she never did. But you know what I mean? Like you're just worried.
Speak for yourself.
It's that. So it's very urban legend.
Yes. Yeah.
And I will say that it involves one of the happiest places you could imagine, not Disney World. And it involves kids.
Ugh, we hate that.
And it involves, killing. So.
Kids, killing, and happiness.
Urban legends.
Urban legends.
It's spooky and creepy. And I'm super excited.
Woo! I'm very excited too. It is going to be, I said, it's going to be fun. I hate to say that about like true crime episodes because obviously it's sad.
It is fun.
But it's you get it. We're going to try to
We're going to reminisce next week as well. We're going to try to like take it back and reminisce to maybe some scary times when we were younger, scary movies that we might have seen. So, and I think the creepy stories we have coming this episode, or not this episode,
some of them are like full body chills when I read them. I was like,
and we're gonna have,
my gosh.
I think we're going to have a guest with us.
I hope so.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I am blinding myself.
I know, me too. So after your episode, I'll have a true crime, and I think I'm going to stick to maybe our urban legend creepypasta theme, and then we're going to obviously have a Halloween-centric episode, and it's getting kind of dark out here, so I think it's going to be time.
A full moon.
Yes, it's a harvest moon, lunar eclipse. I think it's time that we cut it out and go home.
And go into the light.
Don't go into the light.
I can't help it.
Yes.
It's so beautiful. The bugs.
Yes. Speaking of bugs. But anyway, I'm Bianca.
And I'm Hannah.
And we are
Taking
Back Sunday. If it didn't record, I'm going to be...
Well, we just recorded the greatest episode ever, and
off it and hit record. So, back at it for another hour and a half. All right, let me make sure. All right. This would be something I would do.